Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. My mother got a call this morning, and it had her in stitches. She was dying of laughter because the person calling her up, I don't remember whether she said it was a person or a recording. I imagine it's a recording. That's the way they do things these days. But said to her, "Hello, your social insurance number has been suspended." Social security number for anybody listening south of the border. And at that point, my mother just couldn't hold it in any longer. She was laughing because, you want to know something? The truth is, they can't suspend your social security number, your social insurance number. That thing follows you forever. It's your identification. Now, they can suspend your driver's license. I'm not actually sure if they can suspend your health card. But of all the cards that they can suspend, the social insurance number is not one of them. So my mother knew immediately it was a scam. And my mother's not like me. She doesn't have the patience to go in with them. But she just laughed until she hung up the phone. Now, this is a relatively new one. I mean, they've come up with a lot of other things in the past. And this is what is disturbing, because that shows that the people behind these scams are adapting. They're becoming better. That means they recognize when their old scams are no longer doing them any good, and they're moving on to new ones. Now, of course, there's intelligent human beings behind it, but there's also staff behind it. And I was talking with my father, and we were idly trying to figure out, okay, assume that you have an auto dialer, which is the program they use that's got, 10 billion numbers in it, whatever. And, it's dialing constantly. And when it gets a hit, it routes the call to whatever operator is available. It's basically the way most telemarketer places work. That's why you hear that little half a second click before it switches over. And that half a second click is getting less and less necessary as the machines get better and better. And especially if they're blasting a greeting, scam greeting at you first. The worrisome part is behavior that is not rewarded goes extinct. Now, this is a psychological way of explaining if you keep doing something and don't get rewarded, you stop doing it. If you bring me pizza every day for a year because you're trying to get my number and I never give you my number, eventually you're going to stop bringing pizza and either try to bring beer or you're going to give up me altogether. Either wait, I'm happily married, but I'll still take the pizza and beer. But the fact that these scammers are still going, and it seems like they're going stronger than ever, is worrisome, because that means people are not only falling for it once, but they're quite likely going to be falling for it several times. My parents are up in their 70s and 80s. They're among the better educated elderly about what's safe to say yes to and what's safe to say no to. And please never say yes on the phone until you're 100% sure of who you're talking to. That's another way they get you. They record you saying yes. They cut and paste it into a pre-recording of them saying, "Hi, we'd like for you to give us $500 every 2 weeks for the rest of your life and then leave your house to us when on your deathbed." Yes. And then you're stuck with it for the rest of your natural life. That's a relatively rare scam, but everybody knows the story of somebody calling up. And I'd imagine they're mostly overseas call centers, because I'd love to see a business application for one of these people. I intend to run a financial services establishment where will be taking money from people and providing nothing in return. Maybe that is how they're filled out. I don't know. I'll never know. As I was saying, the tragic part is that these scams are evolving. And again, this shows intelligence at work behind them. So these people have decided okay, you've just paid the money, you've got your auto dialer, you've got some sort of a computer reading the pre-recorded message. You're set up to do so many businesses, so many legit businesses. Sell some insurance, advertise products. They were doing that for a little while, as I recall. You used to pick up the phone and they were jawing at you about this product or that product. That died out because people just stopped listening. And now we get it all the time. The interesting thing about these telemarketers, telemarketers are annoying, but they're so far much better than scammers. Like, they're not even in the same league. There's annoying, and then there's, plain out evil and rotten. The interesting thing I'm wondering is, okay, it's an interconnected world. You're at home, you got your Facebook Messenger that you use to call your friend. You got your WhatsApp to call people. You got your Snapchat, this, that, the other thing. How long is it going to take these scammers to realize, hey, I don't really care if I make 1,000 calls on these Snapchats, IM, whatever the heck they are, Instagram, Messenger, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Because I can make 1,000,000 phone calls, and even if I only get 1%, that's still a substantial return. And I imagine it costs less. I'm not sure what the business licenses are like for that kind of a product. But like I said, I imagine it costs less. And, Skype uses numbers. I don't really know how Facebook and Instagram and all those encode you, but ultimately everything on the internet's a number. So it wouldn't be very hard for them to start compiling a database. And then you got another business. Hey, I have a database with 100,000 guaranteed numbers that you're going to get an answer at. How much are you going to pay me for this database? That would actually be a semi-legitimate business where they're not just trying to rip you off. But no, these guys concentrate on the con job. That's the only thing that they worry about is they want money for virtually nothing. For a phone call. Hey, how's it going? Give me some money. They're like beggars, and they're going to be spreading to the online sphere soon. Right now, they're stuck with text messages. But that just shows the phishing has begun. They're trying to figure out whether they have the market there. It's going to be very difficult for Facebook, for Twitter, for any place like that to legitimize their services when they're trying to show an ad for something that actually helps them pay the bills and keeps their lights on. Because remember, nothing comes for free. Everything winds up coming from somewhere. So when these spam, scam phone calls start coming across the digital services, it's going to be really scary. What can we do? The other thing we can do, the police, I respect police. I love them as long as they stay away from me. They can do their jobs somewhere else. But the police do not have the resources to investigate these scammers. It's just simply not possible. You can get a fraud case because you have your defendant who has these records, you have your accused, and then you can start matching things up, start looking at the cameras that they have in front of all the ATMs, and you can really make a pretty positive case on those people. The random person calling up, first of all, you don't even know if they're in the same country. And I highly doubt that they're in the same country. Secondly, the amount of police resources going into this would be astronomical, because you got to defeat an auto dialer. You got to defeat them being able to spoof someone's phone number. Um, Last Friday, a woman called up, fairly nice woman. Not sure what her name was. We didn't get that friendly. But they said that somebody had spoofed my phone number. Now, me having the bit of knowledge that I do, I was able to tell her, I know it happens, but unfortunately, like even the big telecom companies don't have the ability to stop it. And it's just something we got to live with. And the police, remember, they still got to do their duties of, you know, arresting shoplifters, of, you know, running down people that are hitting and run or drinking and driving, you know, murderers, grand theft, all those sort of things. And then they got to go through and pick away at what could be 2 companies, what could be 20 companies, could be one guy in a basement with a couple of his friends trying to run a little bit of a scam. It's a lot of work for a surprisingly small payoff. Despite the incredible amount of money these scammers steal, it's still not a big payoff for the police. And sadly, the problems that are the biggest get the most resources. So scamming is never going to be a real problem for the police. But Silverlight, you say. What about federally? The federals, again, it's a lot of chasing shadows. And you know what? It's the same pocket. Whether you pay taxes to the federal government, the provincial government, or the local government, it's still the same money coming out of the same pocket. There's a great old saying, there's only one taxpayer. So do you want to pay a local police department to do it? Or do you want to pay the federals to do it? And they're still going to be sitting around most of their time chasing shadows. It's just the way things are. Now, the federals did a good job putting together the do not call list. I got respect for that. It's about the only thing you can do. It prevents the legitimate companies, the telemarketers and people like that, prevents them from bothering people. But sadly, it's a step in the right direction. It's not enough. And as we move further and further into a digitized economy, there's just nothing more that we can possibly do. So as we're shadowboxing and trying to nail these people somehow, we have to remember there's only so much any of us can do. They have the drop on us, and they have more avenues than we have. Now, maybe there's a smarter person than me, and I have no doubt that there is. There always will be somebody smarter. And maybe they can figure out how to reverse some of these phone calls, how to send spiders back over the internet, so that way they can figure out where this stuff came from. I don't know. IP switching was not something I had the opportunity to study, aside from a few quick notes. But it's a possibility. A vigilante hacker group. Don't know. It's up to them. Their lives. The only thing we can do is stay vigilant. Like I said, stay informed, stay vigilant. And remember, never say yes on the phone. Always be aware if something is suspicious. The government, going back to the beginning, the government is never going to call you and say, hey, we did this. They're always going to send a note of some sort. And believe me, I've dealt with the government a lot, not just for myself, but for other people. Government loves their paper. We will never be a paperless society because they want to send that letter out so that way if it goes to court, they can say, on October 22nd, we sent a letter to so-and-so. Now, letters do get lost. But then they can say, hey, we sent an email, we sent a letter, we sent whatever the heck else that they wanted, and their case is a heck of a lot better. So if it's somebody pretending to be the government or your bank, remember, they love their pieces of paper. They want you to use them. And if it's something you didn't ask for and you don't know anything about, keep your non-emergency police line handy and make sure that you have an idea of what all the latest scams are. Because I could probably do these for the rest of eternity and never run out of scams to talk about. Be informed. Know what your life is about. Know how it works. Know how the government works. And scammers will have a very difficult time defeating you. I'm hesitant how I say that because if I say, no one can get me, there's going to be some clever little snitch out there that's going to nab me. So I'm not saying my way is perfect, but it's better than zero information. With that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, subscribe, hit the button that enables notifications so that way you can hear the next time we have a new episode out. And we hope you have a fantastic day.